What's going on, everybody? This is the Daily Fantasy Show brought to you by DFO. I am Josh.
Yeah, this is Avery.
And Avery's here.
Yep.
Avery is here.
Yeah, Daddy, and Avery got toys.
And Avery got toys. So, what's going on? It's Free Roll Tuesday. We got a massive stick lift.
Let me say hi.
Avery wants to say hi.
Hi.
There he is. Got some big GPPs on both sites tonight. You have an $8 dangle. There's a $7 on FanDuel. You have a really big stick lift. We also have the platinum free roll, which is hockey.
Yep.
So there's like 2,500 people in that free roll. So I'm almost positive that not everybody in that free roll plays NHL all the time. So hopefully this show will help you all out a little bit here. This beard is weird, man. I gotta shave this. But anyway, 11 games tonight. I like this slate.
There's sand in it.
There you go. Yeah, there's sand in it. There you go. Just be careful, okay? So what do you say we go game by game? Rules of the chat, if you're new.
It's glitter.
Yeah?
It's glitter. Sand.
Nash is going to be traded, for sure. Rangers need a full rebuild. Avery is co-hosting today.
Yep.
So rules of the chat, if you are new to the show. He's doing good, right? You want to come over here and say hello to everybody?
Yeah.
I got it.
Hi.
There he is. He's doing good. He's pumped. He's playing with his toys. He's got his iPad. Put him over here for a minute. Just real quick, new to the show, we're going to go game by game. We're going to break it down just like most of the other shows. Feel free to ask questions about the game I'm currently on. If it's not about the game I'm currently on, I will probably ignore it until the end of the show. I'm not going to ignore it completely, but if I forget asking at the end of the show, I will answer it for you. Just want this to flow nicely since it is a big slate. I want to get through it without you losing your attention span, so let's do it. What do you guys say? First game of the night, we have the Anaheim Ducks on a back-to-back traveling to the Buffalo Sabres. It's going to be... This camera angle is pretty whack, but that's all right. It's going to be Robin Lehner against Ryan Miller. Ryan Miller is going on a back-to-back. Ryan Miller is 8,100 on DraftKings tonight on a back-to-back after being 7,300 yesterday. Robin Lehner is 6,900 on DraftKings tonight. So let's talk about the Sabres first. Okay. Looks like Housley mixed up the lines a little bit.
I can do it.
It's Eichel with Sam Reinhart. Sam Reinhart and Zegmas, my boy Zegmas. Second line is ROR, Okposo, and Evander Kane. So I think that's more of the attractive line. If you're going for a full line,
What is it?
it's like a giraffe or a cow.
Look, a cow?
It's a cow. Okay, here. I'll hatch this one. And then,
Okay.
so for me, if I'm going at this game, I think Buffalo 2, Kane, ROR, and Okposo are the most attractive line from this game. They're only 15,000 and change to full stack on DraftKings. They're a little bit more expensive on FanDuel, 18,000 and change. But I think this is a good spot for them.
You know Ryan?
Yeah, I do. So, I mean, this is one of the...
You know Ryan said?
What?
He already go toys.
Okay.
He already go toys.
So Anaheim is a West Coast team. They are playing a back-to-back. They did travel from Toronto yesterday. This is a veteran team. I'm not sure if this is a getaway day or not for them. I'm not sure. But either way, this is a game where I want to attack the Ducks. Normally I don't like to. But veteran team back-to-back on the road across the country. I think this is...
There's nothing.
Okay. Avery doesn't like the Ducks. He says no. So this is a spot where I think you can attack them.
I like Cooks. I like Cooks.
Of course, I like Eichel, and I really like Reinhardt with Eichel. Okay, buddy. Just relax, and we'll get through it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think, Eichel, Reinhardt, Ristolainen if you're going to mini stack, but if you're going to go a full line, I think Buffalo 2 makes the most sense. Kane, ROR, Okposo with Ristolainen, of course. On the flip side,
Open this, Daddy.
I mean, I do like the top line for Anaheim, but on a big slate, with 22 teams, with Anaheim being on a back-to-back, I'm going to look elsewhere. But if you're making multiple lineups, I think Anaheim 1 probably will be on your list or should be on your list of teams to use. That being said, I do really like Leonard in net tonight, just from a price perspective and shot volume perspective. At his price, I think if he gets a win, he will pay off his price tremendously. So for me, this is a Buffalo 2 game. I do like Leonard. I like Ristolainen. In a one lineup only, I probably would avoid Anaheim. But in a, if you're making, 5, 10 lineups, I think, you can have exposure to Anaheim top line. That being said, goalies, Ryan Miller on a back-to-back. No thank you at 8,100. It's a little bit pricey for me. He got lit up by Toronto last night. Not that, Buffalo is the offensive powerhouse that Toronto is, but I much prefer using Robin Leonard this game just because goalies under 7,000, if they win, see so much value. Let you get in, would you rather spend that $1,200 on Ryan Miller, or would you rather spend that $1,200 to upgrade a defenseman or a winger? I think I'd go winger. Yeah, I'll reiterate that one more time. Please try to refrain from asking questions about the games I'm not on. Ask questions to the games I'm on when I get to that game. Feel free to ask. If not, I will get to it at the end of the show. I just don't want to be jumping from game to game. So let's move on to the second game of the night. We have the Vegas Golden Knights traveling to Pittsburgh to face the Penguins. It's going to be Matt Murray, and I would assume it's going to be Marc-Andre Fleury. Both goalies are moderately priced on DraftKings. Murray is $7,500. Fleury is $7,600. Nice. Yeah, Fleury's... Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. So it is going to be Marc-Andre Fleury tonight. His return to Pitt, I believe. It's not really I guess it's a huge narrative street. But, Vegas always has the narrative streets. That being said, the second line... It's upstairs. That being said, hold on, buddy. I know they don't play together at even strength, but the combination of Malkin, Kessel, and Crosby have been insane together. If you want to power play stack the Penguins, I think that's the way to go. Not a huge fan of their even strength lines. It's really expensive to power play stack them. I don't know if you want to do that on an 11 gamer. It does make sense if you go something like Crosby, Malkin, Kessel, Letang. It's super expensive. You're going to have to find some cheap value to fill out the rest of your roster. I'm not advocating you do it, but if I was going to use Pittsburgh, that's probably how I'm going to attack it. Or I'm going to use Kessel, Sheary with Letang. I don't mind the second or third lines. They're a bit cheaper. Gensel. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. I was thinking Gensel. I read Sheary. I like that combination. They are on power play 1 together. So Pittsburgh third line makes sense. If you want to add Malkin in there for some power play correlation, okay. Thank you.
Okay.
But yeah, on the blue line, Letang is definitely the one I want to use. He's $5,600, which is a very good price for him. If you want to use Justin Schultz at $3,800, I think he's a fair punt as well. Oli Mata at $3,400. If you need the extra $400. On the Vegas side, obviously...
Go get the bundle.
Hold on, I'll get it here. Take another one. On the Vegas side, I really like the top line tonight. It is pricey, so that's probably going to limit how much exposure I would have to them if I was making a lot of lineups. That being said, because of their price, and I think they're going to get a little bit more ownership than they should, just because the expectation is that Pittsburgh is poor defensively, and they were really, really poor earlier in the season. However, they have tightened the ship up a bit, and Matt Murray's also playing really good in net. So I would temper my expectations a little bit on using Vegas skaters tonight. I wouldn't completely rule it out. In one lineup, they're not making the cut for me, but I always do like Vegas. On the blue line, Shea Theodores and Colin Miller, depending on which line you want to use, with power play correlation, makes sense. They're both fairly priced. Yeah, Pittsburgh lines are... Okay, buddy. Pittsburgh lines are pretty gross at even strength they are. That's why you have to go attack and power play style, I think. Also, Nate Schmidt, I think, correlates nicely with Vegas 1. I don't think you really need to punt below that with Vegas. I don't know if Brad Hunt's going to be in. He wasn't in the last few games. He's only 3,000. You really need to dig deep. Goalies in this game, I think this could be a decent GPP game to attack from the goalie position. If I was going to, I think, both goalies are playing GPPs. I think they're going to both see a fair amount of rubber. Avery. Sorry. I think, push comes to shove, I'd go with the home team, and I'd lean Murray a little bit. That being said, I think Fleury's going to see more shots than Murray. So if you're using Vegas, I think Fleury makes sense to correlate in that. You want me to open this up?
Yeah.
So let's move on to the next game of the night. We have the... Yeah, you knocked it. It's okay.
I make a mess.
Yeah, you made a mess. It's okay. The good thing about making messes is we can clean it up. So let's move on to the next game of the night. We have the Philadelphia Flyers traveling to Carolina to face the Hurricanes. It's going to be Brian Elliott against Cam Ward. In a big slate, I'm not overly interested in this game. I think there's merit to the TSA line for Carolina. They are getting pretty pricey. They're up there in the mid-17s, almost 18,000. I think if you're going to spend that much salary in a one lineup, I think there are better spots tonight. I know I like attacking the Flyers goalies, and I think, Carolina is more of an MME play tonight than a one lineup play. The same could be said for Philadelphia one. I don't really like attacking Carolina at home. They're decent defensively. Surprisingly, Cam Ward has been...
We need water.
We need water?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll get water in a second, okay? Surprisingly, Cam Ward has been decent. So, again, Philadelphia is more of an MME than a one-lineup play for me. What?
I can't open that.
So, for me, I'm not interested too much in this game, as I'm a one-lineup guy. For me, and if you're an MME guy, probably, if I was only making 5 lineups, I may even ignore this game. But if I get, over 10, I'd have a little exposure. I do like some defensemen in this game. I think, Provorov makes sense. Ghost Bear, I'll call him Ghost Bear. He makes sense. I'll get it in a minute, bud, okay? Just relax. Watch your iPad for now.
No, I don't want to.
Okay. I think on the Carolina side, Falk and Slavin makes sense. If you need, and Hannafin at 4,000. Okay. Okay. You want to go up and get it?
Yeah.
I think if you need a punt, Brett Pesci or Pesci, however you pronounce it, at 3,000 makes sense if you need a punt. Goalies in this game, even though I'm not... Yeah, go. Go upstairs. Oh, come get it.
No.
We'll play with it in a minute, bud. Daddy's working, okay?
No, I don't want
Give me 1 minute, guys. I gotta get his ice cream truck. All right. Stay here. Move. Move. Yeah. They're a little dangerous. There you go. Okay? Your iPad? Okay. There you go. Now, let me do my work. Here we are. Sorry. Had to get his ice cream truck. So, goalies in the Philadelphia-Carolina game. Even though I'm not really interested in the teams in this game, not really interested in the goaltenders either. I think Cam Ward at 7,300 makes a bit more sense since they're home. He's cheaper. On the flip side, Elliott's going to see a bunch of shots. Whew. Running up and down the stairs, not the play. Either way, kind of mum on these goalies. I really don't. I'm not a huge fan of plugging them in if I'm not using the teams, but they're not the worst plays in the world. That being said, I would prefer to correlate with the Flyers and use Elliott, correlate with the Hurricanes and use Ward, than just plug them in naked. So let's move on to the next game of the night. Whew. I don't know, bud. We have the Washington Capitals traveling to Columbus to face the Blue Jackets. It is Braden Holtby against more than likely Sergei Bobrovsky. I would assume he's probable tonight. Holtby's 7,700, Bobrovsky's 7,400. For me, again, I'm not extremely. They're not. These two teams are probably not going to be my top tier plays. This is more of like a middle of the road, but towards the top of the middle of the road. And I do prefer the Ovechkin Kuznetsov line the most. Bob has been really good. Don't let his losing and the goals allowed confuse you. If you watched him play, he's been playing really well. Columbus has been struggling a bit defensively. So that's why my top play in this game from Washington is probably going to be the Ovechkin Kuznetsov line. If you want to use the second line, Burakovsky, Oshie, and Backstrom's. Whew, that makes. Thank you. I missed that today. So Backstrom and Ovi. That doesn't really change much for me. My preferred play from Washington. This is vanilla ice cream.
Oh.
That's chocolate. Is Backstrom and Ovi. If you want to put in Tom Wilson, you can put in Tom Wilson. On the flip side, someone just mentioned the Atkinson line, and I agree. I do like the top line for Columbus tonight. It's be nice if my computer actually worked once in a while. It's Atkinson, I think Pierre-Luc Dubois, and Anderson, I want to say? No. Here it comes. Dubois, Panarin. Yeah. That is my preferred play from Columbus tonight. I think, they're just outside of the fringe. Like they're one of the last cuts that I had when I was building my one lineup. I think if you're making even 2 or 3, I think you have to strongly consider using that top line tonight. I know Holtby is a good goalie, and he is. The Capitals do have issues on the blue line, and it's pretty prevalent. Even with Niskanen back, they still have issues back there. So I can definitely see Columbus being one of the better plays tonight. They just didn't make my final cut for one lineup. They certainly can make your final cut for one lineup. Multiple lineups, they're definitely one of the better plays tonight. On the blue line, I think it's always difficult to choose between Jones and Werenski. I'm going to go with the power play correlation here, even though Werenski is $900 cheaper. I think Seth Jones would be my preferred play than Werenski. On the Washington side, obviously, if you could fit John Carlson, do it. If not, Niskanen and Orlov or even Christian Jews are not bad punt plays. In net, I think there's merit to using both goalies in GPPs tonight just because of their price compared to their talent level, even though our good buddy Max E. Ernst says that goalie talent does not matter. I do kind of agree with him, but I'm not 100% on board. Bobrovsky at home at 7,400 is an attractive play in GPPs for sure. Holtby at 7,700 is a little bit less attractive. I think there's better options. But if you're correlating with Washington, I believe that does make sense. So let's move on to the next game of the night. We have the New Jersey Devils traveling to Ottawa to face the Senators. It's going to be Keith Kincaid against Craig Anderson. Looks like Derek Brassard is out. Someone else is out too. I think Stone is out. I don't know. Either way, Ottawa's a mess. I really don't want to target them offensively. This is a game where I want to use New Jersey. Bobby Ryan, yeah. Brass, Stone, and Ryan all out, yeah. Bobby Ryan just can't stay healthy with his hands. It's sad because he was really good with Anaheim. That being said, this is a New Jersey game for me. I really like the top line. Hall, Heischer, Bratt. Even that second line's in play for me. I think they're a really good punt line. AD agrees with me. If you read his line matching article, Miles Wood is just he's been a really good playmaker. I think that with Palmieri, I think that's a really nice line as well. If you want to use Will Butcher because he's on the top power play, I think that makes sense. Sammy Vatanen as well. Damon Severson, John Moore, punt if you're doing that. Ottawa side, I do kind of like that top line for Ottawa. On FanDuel, I'd probably go NJ1 over the power play stack. Just, I wish Nico Heischer was on the power play, but I would expect that line to be pretty dominant tonight. If you want a power play stack it, you can. I just you could still only use 4. So I mean, if you want to go like Hall, Palmieri, someone, and Butcher, I think that makes sense as well. But I think my preferred would go NJ1 over the power play. The Ottawa top line is a bit interesting to me. I really don't like using Ottawa. I think there are much better plays on the slate. But it is Keith Kincaid, so we have to do our due diligence here. He has been playing okay, but he's still not great. It's Duchesne, Hoffman, and Colin White. Colin White's really cheap. He's talented. His numbers haven't been too good, but he's still young. I think if you're looking for a really cheap top line, I think you can look there. I don't know if I probably wouldn't go there in one lineup. Probably wouldn't go in 2 and 3. But if you're MMEing, I think that's a nice salary relief saving top line. Obviously, if you can fit in with Erik Karlsson, do it. Someone's got to have some offense in this game from Ottawa. This is pretty ugly. What? Okay. So goalies in this game. Keith Kincaid at 7,800 on the road. Even though Ottawa's really banged up, I mean, I can see it if you're correlating with New Jersey. I like the correlating goalie play tonight. I think it's a safe thing to do, and it personally, I'm not doing it because I needed the salary elsewhere. But I think Kincaid makes sense with the Devils. This is a game where I think Devils can win. On the flip side, Ottawa, Craig Anderson, 7,200. Not overly thrilled about it. He's going to see a ton of shots. It's one of those goalies where he can see 35, 40 shots, and, if he sneaks a win, he'll put up some good points. But, I wish he was under 7,000 like he's had been, and then he'd be more attractive to me because it's 7,200. There are some other goalies within 100, 200, 300 on both sides that I prefer a bit more. Is that a banana split? So let's move on to the next game of the night. We have the Boston Bruins traveling to Detroit. Yeah, I could see it being back and forth. That's why I kind of want to limit the goalies to correlating only. So let's move on to the Boston Bruins traveling to Detroit to face the Red Wings. It's going to be Tuukka Rask against Jimmy Howard. Obviously, that top line of Boston still in play. They are getting a bit pricey. Even with Marchand out, they're almost 20,000 on DraftKings. They are 20,000 plus on FanDuel. Danton Heinen is still in Marchand's spot. I think he's suspended 1 or 2 more games. But this is the Detroit Red Wings we're speaking of here. They are extremely poor defensively. That's kind of a tough question because the price is pretty different depending on your build. If you can find a cheaper line that you can comfortably fit with Boston 1, I'd say Boston 1 over NJ1. But if you're having issues with that second line or filling out your lineup with Boston and you're not comfortable with it, I think New Jersey makes more sense from a financial flexibility perspective.
What is this?
That is a Neapolitan.
Strawberry and chocolate.
Strawberry and chocolate, yeah. So
I make a mess.
that's okay. We can clean up a mess. No biggie. Even though the game's in Detroit, I was kind of hoping they start Peter Mrazek in this game. He has been playing much better as of late. Not that I don't mind Jimmy Howard. It's just, when your top defender is Danny DeKeyser, you're going to have severe issues on the blue line. And this is a game where I can see, Boston getting a bunch of special teams goals or even strength goals. I don't know, like 6, but I could see this game easily being like 4-1, 5-2 type of deal. The thing is with Boston, they have a couple lines. You don't know where it's coming from, but Boston 1 for sure is in play for me. The depth of Boston, I think, is a decent play tonight as well. Yeah, their second line is really cheap. They're like around 14,000, 15,000. Provide some decent salary relief if you want to fade the top line, but still want to have exposure to that game. I think that is a fair way to do it. I think Charlie McAvoy is back. So if you, I think people gravitate to Charlie McAvoy. He is $1,100 cheaper on DraftKings than Torrey Krug. If you have room for Krug, he's still my preferred play. That's an ice cream cone. So I know someone asked about Torrey Krug, and I think he is definitely in play tonight. Ice cream cone. Chocolate. Vanilla. So I think, my preferred play would be Torrey Krug. If you cannot fit him, I think Charlie McAvoy obviously makes sense, 4,400. Chara is a bit expensive, but 4,000 is an okay price for him. On the flip side, not really high on Detroit tonight. I know that second line is fast and they play fast, but this is a tough spot for them. I really like Tuukka tonight. He is a little bit pricey for me in GPPs, but 8,300. I think he's in play for sure, even in cash. I think this might be a cash spot. Normally, I don't like using road goalies in cash, but I think this is a decent spot for Tuukka. For me, if I'm going to use anybody from the Red Wings, it's going to be Trevor Daley if I need a defensive punt at 3,300. But other than that, I'm not super interested. If you want to use an Anthony CU one-off or a Nyquist one-off, okay. I mean, I think I prefer Anthony CU or Larkin, but there are better spots tonight for me. So I'm going to avoid that. Jimmy Howard is 7,000. If you're using the Red Wings, I think, correlating makes sense. Or if you need a cheap goalie and pray, I think I still prefer Robin Leonard to Jimmy Howard. I think that's a tough spot for Jimmy Howard. Boston is fresh. But if you have more confidence in Howard than Leonard and you need 7,000 or under for goalie, I think, you can punt with Howard. But you know what you're getting into. It could turn ugly really fast. So let's move on to the next game of the night. It is, I don't know. It's an ice cream pop. Vancouver Canucks traveling to Florida to face the Panthers. It is going to be Harry Carey Sateri. I love saying that. I don't know why. Harry Carey, Cubs win. If I were a hot dog, I'd smother myself in ketchup and mustard. I'd take a bite. That's my poor Harry Carey impression. Actually, that's my poor Will Ferrell impression of Harry Carey impression. I don't know why my computer is freezing again. That's fun. Is it Markstrom? I think it's Markstrom in goal tonight. There we go. No one has been confirmed yet, according to my notes. No one is confirmed yet. Ice cream pop, strawberry. So no one's confirmed for Vancouver yet. It's either going to be Markstrom or Anders Nielsen. Either or, I have zero interest in. I think this is a Florida game all the way. This is a really far trip for Vancouver. Not that really plays a role. I just really like Florida tonight. I've been on the Florida train for a while since Nick Bjugstad has been moved to the top line. They've been coming in a little bit lower owned because a lot of people gravitate to Vinny Trocheck and Huberdeau, which is perfectly fine. I think they're in play as well. I think both of these top lines are certainly up there tonight. I think you want to go all in on the Panthers tonight and six-man stack, okay. But I'm not doing that. I'll have to make a choice between Florida 1 and Florida 2. And my lean is to Florida 1. Nick Bjugstad is still, if you had to guess the reason. There's reverse line movement on Vancouver. Probably because, Harry Sateri is still in goal. He's not good. Those are licorice. Yeah, it's probably because of Sateri. Maybe there was thought that Reimer was coming back. I don't know. I don't know. I don't even know if he's skating it or Luongo, something like that. Um, Besser is still with the Sedines, right? Or is he with? I never know what I never know what Vancouver's doing back there. Sedin, and Virtanen. Oh, is it Horvat with Horvat with Vanek and Besser? Is that right? Why wouldn't they just put Barchi up there? Either way, you would expect Barkov to go against the Horvat line. Probably see Huberdeau against the Sedins. It is the Better Business Bureau tonight. Yeah. I would imagine Barkov goes against that line, and that's fine. I mean, that doesn't really affect what I'm going for with Florida. That line doesn't really scare me defensively. Vancouver doesn't really scare me defensively. I think, the top two lines of Florida are squarely in play. If you have a lean one way or the other, I'm not going to talk you off that lean. I think both of them are definitely in play. Let me get these ice cream cones out for Big Avery. I think on the, Vancouver side, if it is Barchi, Horvat, and Besser, I think that is a line that you can use. Sorry. Yeah, but Ekblad is not on the top power play unit. He is on the second power play unit. They go 4 forwards and 1 defenseman on the power play. They go Trocheck, Huberdeau, Barkov, Dadonov, and Yandel. That being said, I do like to use Ekblad. I do like to use Ekblad over Yandel, even though he's not on the power play, because he has better periffs. Yandel, it's kind of like the Ghost Bear and Provorov type deal. I just think, Ekblad gets the block shots, gets the shots on goal. I think you have to rely more on Yandel producing on the power play. But, obviously Yandel's fine if you're going to, use either of the top two lines. I think there's a decent price disparity. Hold on, let me check it out. Let me check it out here. Here. Yeah, Yandel's 5,200, Ekblad's 4,800. Either, if you want to correlate, obviously, with Yandel on the power play, that makes perfect sense. I like Ekblad a little bit better just from the block shots and the shots on goal perspective at even strength. It's just a preference play there. Yandel obviously makes a little bit more sense. I'm a little bit higher on the Barkov line. I think people sour on Nick Bustad, but he does shoot the puck. That being said, people have seen, Dennis Malgin score a bunch of goals with Trocheck and Huberdeau. So I think, people tend to gravitate there a little bit. I'll put more weight on a bad PK. Like, even if, like the Winnipeg Jets, they have a terrible PK. But the Arizona Coyotes have a terrible power play. I'd still favor the Arizona Coyotes power play because they have the extra man on the ice. I'll put a little bit more. So to answer your question fully, I put a little bit more weight into bad PKs than good power plays. Goalies in this game. Oh, so Vancouver, if you're using Besser, Horvat, and Barchi, I will in a second, Bubba. I think, Alexander Edler makes sense. He's been playing really good lately. If you want to use Del Zotto, you want to use... Yeah, I mean, he's still not very good. I mean, it's good for him for, getting a whole bunch of NHL starts and playing decent, getting good experience, but, I don't know if I'd use him in cash. I probably wouldn't, especially with Besser. Besser's he'll probably pot a goal or two. You want to use Sateri in GPPs with Florida, I think that makes perfect sense. Personally, I'm not doing it. I worry that this game could be a 4-3 game. People sleep on Vancouver. They're pretty poor defensively, but they always find a way to stay in games, and that does worry me. I've seen people talk up Sateri and Cash today. I personally, I'm not going to recommend that. If it burns me, so be it. You can tell me I suck and I was wrong, but I can't, with a good conscience, tell you to use Harry, Sateri, and Cash. Probably Vinny Dunn. But if you need the extra 200, Del Zotto is perfectly fine. So let's move on to that game. The Minnesota Wild traveling to St. Louis to face the Blues. It's going to be Devin Dubnyk. Well, let me let this load. Devin Dubnyk against Carter Hutton. I have been sour on Hutton. He's been burning me. He's making me look bad, but you know what? Just because he's been playing well recently, it's not going to change my opinion on him. That being said, St. Louis top line, Schenn, Schwartz, Tarasenko. Easily one of the top plays of the night for me. I don't know what this is. Open it, you said?
Yeah.
Here. Oh, no. There's paint in there. I'll open. Yeah, it's yucky, so be careful. Definitely, they're over 20,000. They're 21,000 on FanDuel. They're very expensive, but that line, when they were together, when Schwartz was healthy, was very, very dominant. And I know it's Dubnyk, and I know they're probably going to be facing Koivu. I know it's in St. Louis, so I don't know who they're going to be facing, but I don't think it matters. They're all on the power play together. If you're spending up, I think this is my preferred spot to spend up. Yeah, I do like St. Louis one a lot tonight. Okay. If you can fit them with Pietrangelo, I think you do it. If not, I think, Vinny Dunn at 3,500 is a viable punt. Also, Colton Pyarko at 5,000 is okay. Put that back in. I'm not big on the second line. I think the Steen line is going to match the top offensive line for Minnesota, whichever they deem that to be. It's probably going to be the Koivu line, so Tarasenko is probably going to be seeing Stahl. So that's a better matchup for St. Louis 1. On the Minnesota side, yeah, I don't really look into the totals too much. That is interesting, though, that it did drop to 5.
Open this pattern.
It's what did the team totals? Which team? Do you know which team total moved? I would assume Minnesota's team total dropped.
Yes. I'm going to have the Squitter box.
Just because Carter Hutton's been playing really well. Really? That's interesting. I mean, I don't know. I don't really,
What is it? A 110?
That doesn't really change my opinion on it.
That clock us out.
You don't see 5s too often in the NHL, but, okay, so maybe it's a 3-1 game. If you get all the goals from St. Louis 1, you're still rocking and rolling. Even if you get 2 line goals from St. Louis 1, I think, you're rocking and rolling. But from Minnesota side, I'm not overly thrilled about Minnesota tonight.
Good.
They're kind of... It's okay.
Go get it.
Sorry. I think, Minnesota won. Koivu... I knocked my camera over. Koivu, Granlund, and Zucker an okay play. I think the Blues are a very good defensive team. I think Hutton has been playing really well. Eventually, it's going to catch up to him, I think. But I'm kind of mum on the Wild tonight. Even mum on Dubnik. I know he's cheap. He's 7,300. I think if you're using the Wild, I think it makes sense. I think he's going to be kind of popular. I don't know. I don't know how popular the Blues are going to be, but I would imagine Dubnik at 7,300 is going to have some ownership. Carter Hutton at 8,000, I think, is also going to have ownership just because of recency bias and game logs. I think both are okay in GPPs. I'd much prefer not to use a goalie from this game. I'm more of a correlating goalie from this game. Again, I'm not a huge Hutton fan, but if you're on Hutton, I'm not going to talk you off of it. He has been playing really great. Yeah, that is kind of true. Dubnik has been kind of low. He did get lit up by Vegas. And he was in the other night. He came in relief. But, yeah. Let's move on to the next game of the night. We have the Arizona Coyotes traveling to Winnipeg to face the Jets. We have 8,500 Connor Hellebuck against more than likely 6,700 Scott Wedgwood. 8,500 for a goalie. I mean, Hellebuck has been really good lately. He's going to be so low owned because of the 8,500. Is he going to be the highest owned? God, I couldn't do it. Cash, I could do it. Cash, I would use Hellebuck. GPPs, I cannot spend 8,500 for a goalie. That's just bananas. Especially if he's going to have ownership. He has to have a shutout to pay off. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, he has to have a shutout to pay off in GPPs and cash. I think you can use him. That's definitely more of a cash play for me. So let's talk about the teams in this game. Yeah. I think that top line for Winnipeg is in play. Wheeler, Line A. What the heck is my computer doing? Is it still Roslovic? By the time I get to these games, I forget. Yeah, it's still Jack Roslovic, and he's almost 5,000. I think I'm okay with that.
Open this. Open this.
I would much prefer it to be Kyle Connor. Yes. But Clayton Keller has been really quiet lately, but we'll get there in a second. I think the top line for Winnipeg is in play. Look at that. That's kind of cool, huh?
Yeah.
Whoops. So I think, Winnipeg won, even though it is Roslovic. I think, that is in play. They all are on the power play together. Trouba's still out, so Dustin Byfuglien makes sense. Tyler Myers makes sense. Use your words. Don't grunt at me, okay? Here. Let's talk about Winnipeg 2. I think if you don't want to spend up for Winnipeg 1, I think Winnipeg 2 is in play as well. I'm not as high on them as some other people I've heard talking about them.
What's the name?
I don't know. I'm just not a Brian Little guy. So go get it. I'm not going to get it. 5,000 Brian Little is a tough pill to swallow. But I do like Matthias Perreault at 5,400 and Nikolai Ehlers for sure. They also go well with Byfuglien. So, if you're not spending up for Winnipeg 1, you need, you want exposure to this game, Winnipeg 2 definitely makes sense. Little at 5,000 is a little expensive for me, but it's not terrible. From an Arizona side, what do we do with Arizona? Probably fade them. They're so cheap though. Like if you're like filling your lineup out with an expensive line and expensive D-men, yeah, I think Arizona 1 is a decent landing spot. They're just so cheap.
Daddy? What?
It makes sense, Steppen, Perlini. Yeah, I think, if you're making multiple lineups and you need a cheap line, I don't mind that Arizona line at all. Chikrin's price has dropped, as people said. Clayton Keller at 4,400, it's okay. I don't mind that line either. Dvorak, Reeder, and Keller.
It's a bonus one. It's a bonus
I don't know.
splendid.
I'd like it more if they were in it.
Splendid.
Yeah, in Arizona, it does worry me a little bit. On the road in Winnipeg, but Winnipeg's penalty kill is just terrible. Chikrin's back down to 3,400. I think that squarely puts him in play as one of the good punt defensemen tonight. Even Oliver Ekman Larson at 4,100. Yeah, like you said on FanDuel, if Hellebuck's going to be chalky, I think Arizona 1 is decent leverage. I don't know if I do it in one lineup, but I certainly would have to consider them if I'm making multiple lineups.
Mommy. What?
I'm not mommy. I'm bad. So that being said, I don't think I'm going to use Wedgwood tonight at 6,700. I know that's super cheap, but he has not been very good. I don't know if this is a winnable game for Arizona. I think they compete a little bit, but I think Winnipeg comes out on top here. Hellebuck, purely a cash play for me. I think I'm fading GPPs because that price is just too expensive.
What is this one do? What is this one? What is this one do?
I'm going to say under.
What is this one do? What is this one do?
I don't know, buddy. So let's move on to the next game of the night. We have the Calgary Flames traveling to Chicago to face the Blackhawks. It's going to be Mike Smith against Jeff Glass. This game's a 6 over-under, isn't it? Yeah.
What does this mean?
I don't know. Yeah, all the former Ranger goalies. Yeah, it is a 6 over-under.
So splendid. Is this anyone?
So you would assume that Taze is going to get Gaudreau here, which would mean Kane is against the 3M line. For me, let me think about this real quickly here. I think I still like the Kane line better than I like the Taze line, even though they're going to get the 3M line. They're going to get the 3M line in favorable spots because at home, the 3M line gets a ton of defensive starts. Yeah, that's a good question too. They might not even see the 3M, but even if they do, I think because Chicago has the last change, they're going to get the 3M in a favorable spot. Regardless, I think I like the Kane line better than the Taze line. Taze line certainly is in play. And above all, no, I think I gotta stick to my gut here. I don't know why, but the Kane line is the top play for me in this game. They're still decently priced. You get Kane on the power play. I don't know how much. Yeah, I'm not. For a game stack, would make sense to pair Kane with Monahan or Taze with Backlund and avoid the shared ice time. That's a good question. I think I'd go Chicago 2, Calgary 1, or Calgary 2, Chicago 1. Yeah, I think I would avoid the shared ice time. But in order of preference, I think the lines in this game for me would go Chicago 2, Calgary 1, Chicago 1, Calgary 2. Yeah. I do like that third line for Chicago too. They're super cheap. I don't know if you need to go there though. I mean, if you do need some super salary relief, I think I like them better than the Coyotes, Kampf, Hinostroza, and brain. Is it Jerko? Or is it? No, it's Sod, right? Yeah. Brandon Sod. It is Jerko. What, is Sod on the fourth line? Yeah, that kind of takes me off the third line. Yeah, Sharp, Hartman. That's the line I was thinking of. Sharp, Sod, Hartman. I like them tonight. That's the third line I was thinking of. Having a moment. I need to chew it over with Twix. I don't know if we really need to dig that deep tonight, but I think, that's a decent spot if you need some serious salary relief. On the blue line, if you can fit Keith in, if you're using Chicago, I'd do it. Otherwise, Osterley is still a good play. I don't even mind punting with Brent Seabrook. He's cheap. He's on the power play. Defense doesn't matter in DFS. For Calgary, I think, Dougie Hamilton makes the most sense than Giordano. And if you need to punt, TJ Brody. I'm going to avoid the goalies in this game in a 6 over-under. Although I don't mind Mike Smith. I think he's going to see a ton of shot volume. I'm not a huge Jeff Glass guy. So, I'll take a GPP flyer on Mike Smith. But Jeff Glass, I'm not completely interested at all.
I'm good this one too.
Yeah. So, let's move on to the last game of the night. We have the San Jose Sharks traveling to Colorado to face the Avalanche. It's Jonathan Bernier against. I don't think the Sharks have announced yet. Unless they announced since I've been on the air. Yeah. It's probably going to be Martin Jones. Gerbil.
Gerbil.
Yeah.
Gerbil.
Jones is confirmed? Okay. He's been playing decent recently, and there's no McKinnon. Kerfoot still on that top line. I think this is... I don't know about the late hammers in this game. I'm not thrilled with any of these lines, really. I think out of anything, I'd use a Sharks. Yeah, and Rantanen's a game-time decision. I think he's sick. Yeah, Burns is the one person I would definitely use in this game if you can fit him. Sharks power play does make sense too. I like Couture. I like Hurdle. I like Timo Meyer. I'm a big Donskoy guy, but he isn't on the power play. If you do need some salary relief, I think you can use Donskoy that line a little bit. Who's he on with? I know that the Sharks fan is here. He should know. I know it's Couture with Hurdle, Pavelski with Timo. Oh, Donskoy is on with. There we go. He's on with Pavelski, Meyer.
So these ones.
LeBanc is on with Couture and Hurdle. So I do like that. I do like both top lines tonight. I just for the price, I'm not sure if I need to go there. I think there is. Yeah. So I mean. If anything, I'm going to use the Couture line with Hurdle and Burns. I'm going to go Couture, Hurdle, Burns. I'm not a huge LeBanc guy, but he has been pretty effective recently. He is a little pricey at 4,800. I'd probably prefer to go Timo Meyer and Donskoy. I don't mind, that Pavelski, Meyer, Donskoy with Burns. I'm not sure, buddy. I'm not going to force my way into using Burns tonight, but if I happen to fit him in, I'm certainly going to be pumped about it. Brent Burns is probably one of the best plays on the slate tonight, as he generally is whatever game he's playing. I think the Sharks are a little bit appealing for a late-night hammer, so I think they're going to get some ownership because of that, and Colorado is not good without McKinnon, and if Rantanen is a game-time decision, that weakens them even more. Burns obviously makes the most sense. I think Burns will be higher, but Carlson's cheaper, so I don't know. It depends on your build. But Burns is definitely going to be more popular. If you're not using Burns, I think Dylan DeMello at 2,700 is on the second power play unit. If you really need to dig deep, Pickles at 4,900 is a bit pricey, but he kind of makes sense as well. Not really interested in anyone from the Colorado side. Maybe Eric Johnson, but he's pricey at 5,100. Tyson Berry, not bad at 4,500. Other than that, Sam Girard, people have asked me about Sam Girard. He's 3,200, but he has not been shooting the puck too much. But if you do need the salary, I think he's a decent punt. But from the Colorado side, I'm not really interested in using any of their skaters. Whoops. So that covers the 11-game slate. I will take questions for a few minutes. Yeah, I kind of broke it, right?
Yeah.
Let me open this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't mind Jones tonight in GPPs. He is a little bit pricey for my liking at 7,900.
Is it good? Is it good? Is it bandit?
I think he is in play, especially if you're correlating.
No. A bunch.
I do agree. He has been playing better, and I think he is going to be a decent, sneaky GPP option.
Well, that's this one.
No interest. Very little interest in Bernier tonight. That's just a tough matchup for him.
Look at it.
Any questions?
No. Nope.
I can barely see my head.
Any questions? Anyone's?
This Mountain Dew Ice is basically Sprite with caffeine, so I can definitely get behind that. It tastes exactly like Sprite, and it has all the caffeine in Mountain Dew.
Yeah. There's another one out here.
Top 3 defense punts, Vinny Dunn.
This one, Daddy.
Okay, let me load it up real quick.
Get this one.
Hold on, bud.
Oh.
Vinny Dunn for sure is up there. When my computer, stops being funky, I'll tell you.
Oh my God.
If you really need a deep punt, 2,700 Dylan DeMello. But let me get you the good ones. Highest owned goalie excluding Hellebuck.
Is it? Yeah.
Hold on. Let me answer this punt D question first. I think Jordan Osterley is a good play, 3,800. I think Chikrin at 3,400. TJ Brody, Matheson. Players like that. Josh Morrissey. I like Seabrook as well. But if I had to say 3, Vinny Dunn, Chikrin, and Osterley.
I don't know this off.
Highest owned goalie besides Hellebuck. GPP or cash? I don't think it really matters. Let me see here.
Cash, Daddy.
Cash.
Yeah.
I think Tuukka Rask, probably. I think Tuukka is going to be pretty popular tonight. And same with Carter Hutton.
Let me see.
Just between Burns or Hall? Cash must on FanDuel. I think I'd go Burns over Hall. I think Hall is definitely a really good cash play tonight.
Daddy?
Hall, Burns, I think. Kessel.
I got all these ones. I got
Tarasenko.
all these ones. Open them. No.
Bergeron, players like that. I think. Players like that. Mid-range. I think Evgeny Dadonov.
No. Oh. Very good.
Hold on,
Open that. Open the
Timo
other
Meyer.
bandage. Open the other bandage.
Let me get down to the mid-range here. Hurdle.
That's a bandage.
Ow, 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 ow.
What hurts? What hurts? Daddy? What hurts?
I want to see the Rangers do a full rebuild.
Who's this?
And I hope they start with the trade deadline by trading Nash. I don't know. They need to trade Nash. Hopefully they listen on McDonough, on Zuccarello. They need to tear it down. Full rebuild. Mid-range also, I think Kyle Okposo's decent cash play. Ryan O'Reilly. Gensel.
Almost a big hit.
Pierre-Luc Dubois. Players like that. Danton Heinen's even not too bad in cash.
This one.
I don't know if they need Tavares, but they need to get younger and rebuild. And it sucks because this is probably the last year Hank's going to be an elite goalie. But it is what it is.
What is this one? What is this one? What is this one?
I don't know, bud.
It's a troll. It's a glitter troll.
All right, guys. So I'll be on Twitter the rest of the day. You know my handle. It's JRH02DFS. If you do not, you can ask me questions the rest of the day. You can catch me in the DFO Premium Chat. Good luck tonight. Avery's going to say bye.
Bye.
And we will see you tomorrow.
Say bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
See you.
See you.